Hey, David here with Guide Recommended. I am super excited. We get to talk about a special offering I got going on. So over the last couple of weeks, you've seen me talking about tying flies, right? Catching fish, what flies I use, how I rig it all up. That's all part of a class I've got out there. How to fly fish, how to fly fish. I call it Demystifying Fly Fishing for the Beginners. But the fly tying portion is really one little segment of that class. I've just dumped that whole fly tying module into the class. Instructions start to end on how to fly, how to tie flies. What I'd like to do is just quickly go over some things about my fly fishing class, and then if I can hold your attention long enough, I'm going to drop in and give you a free lesson. My whole lesson on how to catch bluegill. So it's got setup, it's got equipment. Again, that's one little piece out of my Demystifying Fly Fishing class, link below. So let's go through some things on the screen real quick. So what will you get? You'll get the Demystifying Fly Fishing online course. You also get the bonus quick start guide. It's got a 45-minute crash course. Got my new foundational fly tying course. We've got forever access to Demystifying Fly Fishing with updates. So I'm on Rev 5. So these things are going to continue to come. 30 days of email support. I've added in the expert nymphing secret. So it's a book, ebook on how to nymph fish. Plus, I've got an old course that I had on how to build a fly rod. All of this, 49 bucks. Again, that link is down below, but let's jump into some screen capture. And again, stick around to the end because I've got a full section out of the course on catching bluegill. Like I said, setting up, casting, fishing, and hooking into some fish to give you a good flavor for what the Demystifying Fly Fishing course is all about. So let's get onto some screen sharing. So let's do a quick overview of my class, Demystifying Fly Fishing for the Beginner. So over here on the left is basically the different lessons that are included with this little number showing the number of lessons in each one of these modules. So our quick start guide, perfect example, 7 different modules in this lesson. So each one of these starts out with a quick little video.
So the quick start guide, so
it'll follow up with each of these lessons with a PDF, kind of helping you through the class as well, something visual to look at. So this has got, different gear is a minimum. The flies, if you had to just grab a couple flies, what would I grab? And then setting up a fly rod, and then some simple casting lessons. This kind of reinforces everything that's in the different modules. And keep going. Demystifying fly fishing rods, reels, flies, and more. Demystifying fly rod setup. 11 different lessons here. So setting up for dry fly, right, with our download. Basic nymphing, right, goes into a video again. And then right after that, it has a download of what's in that course. Okay, let's go through this a little bit more. A lot happening. Safety, fly fishing formula. So this is finding fishy water. Here's reading the water. 13 modules. So this goes through lakes, rivers, streams, pocket waters, fly fishing bends, right? Takes you out on the water and describes a bend.
So we're coming up to a bend.
Again, like all the other ones, it has your PDFs that describe different water spots, and then how to fish them, where to read the water, what's happening. And then I include a bunch of little guide secrets in each one of these downloads, some helpful things to help you on your way. So that's the PDF. All right, I got to get going on this. And then we jump into fly fishing individually for different fish. Brook trout, bass, bluegill, brown trout, rainbow trout. We're going to give you in a second a section out of our bluegill lesson, right? how to fish for bluegill, setup and casting and all that good stuff that goes into bluegill fishing. I call that the gateway fish, gateway drug for fly fishing, bluegill fishing. It's everywhere. Jumps into our fly tying modules, right? Introduction on how to get the best out of this course. Recommendations in terms of materials and kits and things. Foundational knowledge, this gives you the techniques and parts of a hook and knots that you're going to use. Again, based on those PDFs with different materials all spread out through this. And then we get into, look at this, 43 different videos here, but this is foundational flies, right? Foundational flies that everyone needs in their fly box. And we've got our downloads.
David here, thanks.
Download included, and then the instructions with close-ups of tying those different flies. So let's jump into that free lesson on bluegill fishing.
Hey, I'm going to jump in here for just a sec. So if you ever thought about how much it costs to get a guide for a day, and you can learn a lot from a guide, but those guides are usually wanting to get you into some fish, which isn't bad. Heaven knows holding a fish and that excitement is always wonderful. But getting into fish and learning how to fish are kind of two different things. To have a guide take you out and just instruct you is a long-term investment. So I've got a class for you, a fraction of the cost of a guide. In the link below, the description below, is a link to my class, and you're going to get, for less than $50, more than what a guide would teach you in a full day. No doubt about it. Any questions, please just get a hold of me after you buy the course. Money back guarantee. I want to feel good about this, and I want you to get out and catch fish.
There we go. Little gill.
So, hey, I hope you liked that quick little introduction video. I thought I was saying before, didn't want to spend a whole lot of time. In other parts of this course, I talk about bluegill fishing, but just started with catching a quick fish, kind of get you excited, and then we're going to jump into the setup here for bluegill fishing. Some of my favorite setups and flies, okay? Hey, bluegills. It might seem silly, but my in-person classes where I teach, I go to local libraries and clubs and teach an in-person class, I really try to pattern the whole class towards getting out to a local pond and catching bluegills. If there was a fish that I would say go after fly fishing, it's bluegills. They're all over North America. Most little ponds, even on golf courses. The one by me is actually, 200 yards from a little library. It's what I call a borrow pit, where they took some dirt in order to raise the road, and I can take 2 or 3 people out there, and we can go through the exact fundamentals of casting, rigging up, and catching fish, having success, literally over 3 hours of instruction. So bluegills, what would I do? What's the thing that I can almost guarantee these students will catch a fish if they can get the fly on the water? And that's what, part of learning. So I love a 3-weight rod. So this is a 3-weight I've got right here. It's a TFO. It's a 9-foot. But you can go with 3 to 5 weight. Me personally, I like moderate, fast action rods. For me and for people that I like instructing, gives them a chance to feel that line load. A lot of the videos I did with one of my bigger rods, it's a nice bright rod, but it's actually a fiberglass rod. Slow video as well, bright orange, white line, works good. But for bluegill fishing, my preference, 3 weight, 9 foot. TFO's got a good one. For this rod, I match it with a matching line. It's a 3 weight line, weight forward floating, weight forward floating. If you remember, go back up to module, I think it's probably 3, where we talked about fly lines. Leader. Bluegills really aren't leader shy. Usually they don't get spooked. If they want something, if they're on the beds, it's almost unfair to catch them. They will defend, they will attack anything that comes in their area. But I will use a nylon tapered leader, 3X to 6X, 7.5 foot. A lot of times I won't even put a tippet on. Again, just another knot in the system. If I get into a bass, which is possible, they're in the same water. Smallmouth and largemouth will be in the same water as bluegill. If I got a 4X leader, perfect. 7.5 foot. It will help. That shorter leader will help turn over those poppers a lot of times. So I tend to go a little bit heavier with my leaders. When I say heavier, higher braking strength into that 4X area, even 3X. I don't worry about it too much. All right, flies, poppers, yellows with black. This is about a size, hopefully that's focusing, size 12, yellows. You know what? Let's just pause it and we'll close up. All right, so flies, like I was saying, poppers. This guy is about a 12. Poppers, I like yellows, I like blacks, I like reds, I like whites, I like legs. This size, again, about a 12, perfect. Hook bass, can hook a lot of bluegills. Bluegills do have small mouths. Having something a little bit larger like this, you're going to get a lot of hits, okay? But you're probably not going to get those little guys. What else? Grasshopper imitations. All right, grasshoppers, beetles. Usually I'll go like a size 12 to 14. This is actually a 14. Here's another kind of grasshopper pattern I've been tying and playing with. This is a size 14 on a longer shake hook. Nymphs, well, let's do streamers, Mickey fins, and smaller woolly buggers. All right, so this is a smaller woolly bugger. I mean, to give you a comparison, what I use for regular, say trout, this is about an 8 long shank. This is a 10 or 12 long shank. So smaller woolly buggers. I looked in here real quick. Usually I have a couple Mickey fins. That's that traditional hair, deer hair kind of streamer that you see, yellows and reds. But those are the flies. I also, and this is just a deadly comment, I'm going to put a nymph, pheasant tails, bead heads. I like bead heads. They sink quickly. The small fish tend to be close up to the top. But a bead head nymph, hare's ear, pheasant tail, as a dropper underneath a popper. Does a couple things. You're going to catch a lot of fish. You're going to catch a lot of fish. but it also allows you to, hold on here, well, let's back up again. So with a dropper, so what's a dropper, just in case you didn't catch that earlier? So we tie our popper on. A lot of times, like I said, I won't even put tippet. I won't even put tippet onto my leader. Again, I like that shorter leader, right? So I will tie my popper onto my leader, and then from there, all right, hook, there's our popper, onto there, onto the hook itself, I'll tie a section about 16 inches of nylon. So if I'm running, you know, that 4X we're talking about, I will put on about 16 inches of 5X onto that hook, and then tie that pheasant tail, that little 6 size 16 bead head pheasant tail on there. So I did want to show you a quick little hack on tying those droppers on quick, so let's move again. Okay, so we tie our popper on. We're not going to tie it onto the leader, but what I wanted to show you is a quick little tip, and this is literally like the setup I use for bluegill fishing. That, along with some hemostats, some inexpensive nippers, or those other nippers we've been talking about I'll have with me. I do like taking some floating. I forgot some on a trip on YouTube the other day, and just one little spool of 5X tippet. So pull off a hunk of this. If you remember, we did a knot using our hemostat, right? With the fly in this loop. So I looped over the line, right? Looped it over. And what I do is that same knot. So 6 spins, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. I grab the tag with my hemostats, and I pull that through that original loop, okay? Hoping you see that. That right there, I will put the hook onto. Hopefully you saw that. Is on there. Draw that down. Wet it for the last bit. Cinch it tight now. Get this to come into focus. And my fingers out of the way. You can see we got that tag on there. Hold on a second, let me get my illustrating guide. Alright, so I grabbed a hunk of backing, a spool of backing to help you see this. Right. So, loop it over, right? Looped over. 6 spins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Grab my tag, pull that through the initial loop. So there is that loop. Take your hook, here's my educational tool, through that hook, loop, right? And at this point, draw it down, wet. And that is our clinch knot quickly tied onto a hook, okay? And then from there, you know, just to speed things up, let me get a big hook here. Of course, I'm not going to be able to thread this back in through very easy. Right, pull it through. Again, it's that same knot, that clinch knot that you can quickly tie with your hemos. 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull it through, wet, and there's our clinch knot on the fly. So a dropper. Put that popper on, right? And then tie on that little pheasant tail. And you've got a killer bluegill setup. Thanks.